Cuba and the US will set aside more than 50 years of hostility and isolation and reopen embassies in their respective capitals. Hello, I'm Anand Naidu in Washington, D.C., and this is The Heat. The reopening of embassies in Havana and Washington is a huge step towards normalized relations. For more on this historic news, we're joined now by CCTV's Michael Voss. He joins us from Havana. Michael, this is very significant. The last time the United States had an embassy in Cuba was in the early 60s. How is this news being received in Cuba?
Well, I mean, I think it's gone down very well. I think on the streets there is a huge sigh of relief. Remember that the announcement, that historic announcement by both US President Barack Obama and Cuban President Raul Castro that they were going to restore diplomatic relations took place on December 17th, more than 6 months ago. And at times, as these complex, difficult negotiations went on, I think there were fears by some here that perhaps the whole thing would stall, that maybe this wasn't going to happen. So a genuine sense of relief on the street that it's happened, hope that it's going to improve their lives, bring further changes here. From the government's point of view, they're saying very clearly that there is still a lot more to do. This is the beginning, says the Cuban government. If they want to normalize relations, they've got much more to do, and they've set out their list of demands in a statement read on television from the government. They said if you want to normalize relations, there's still the embargo to be lifted. They want the return of the Guantanamo naval base. They want the end of these Radio Marti TV and radio broadcasts out of Miami, and an end to the Cuba Democracy Program, which they see as encouraging subversion and anti-government activities on the island. So an historic moment, really, on both sides of the Florida states. Now, one of the last leftover conflicts of the Cold War is finally coming to an end, but there is still a lot more to do.
Michael, as you say, the hope is that this will improve the lives of ordinary Cubans. It will bring about change for them. But in real terms, how does this change for ordinary Cubans?
Well, I think in some ways expectations are higher than reality here. We're not about to see McDonald's and Starbucks opening up on the Malecon anytime soon. The US trade embargo still stands. President Obama has, through his executive powers, eased and lifted some of that. Certainly, you're seeing a lot more American visitors here. Officially, they're not tourists. They're coming for cultural reasons, cultural exchanges, academic, religious, lots of politicians, lots of businessmen. This is doing really good business for the taxi drivers, the hotels, and all the private businesses, particularly the private restaurants and these private bed and breakfasts, which, for example, Airbnb is now booking in Cuba. But in terms of bigger changes, really significant investments here, that's going to take a long time. I think there is this expectation particularly amongst the young, that now that this country no longer feels that it's under siege from its big neighbor from the north, that maybe the political and economic strings here will loosen slightly. But again, this isn't about to happen overnight.
Okay, thanks, Michael. Michael Voss there reporting from